What happens when the god of luck, opportunity, expansion, growth, Santa Claus, also known as Jupiter, goes retrograde in the sky, especially in the sign of Aries, which he has not done since July through to September of 2010? And what does it mean for the world and for you? Stay tuned for your all signs forecast. Hi, I'm Lori Lothian. I am your lunatic astrologer, and welcome to my channel if you're new. So today I want to bring into the very broad brushstroke, only in the first 5 minutes, the idea of how this may impact the entire world as a general theme. And then in your story, based on your rising sign, which will always be the most accurate, then your sun and moon, you can listen as well, how this may impact you. And for all of us, the last time this retrogradation happened in the first 3 degrees of Aries was, as I said, between July and September of 2010. So what I want to say to you is, first of all, what is Jupiter about, right? He is a benefic, big gas giant in the sky. He's considered to be basically super powered. Oh, by the way, there's a creepy doll back there. People ask me about it. I'm at my sister's place. I don't have all my lighting kits and stuff. I'm visiting her. She's a top-notch Reiki and pendulum healer. She actually cured me of this debilitating piriformis muscle SI joint pain that I had recently at a distance healing. And she's been doing a lot of distance work lately. So if you're curious, she has a summer sale, 30% off. Check the description box below. While I'm staying with her, I'm going to plug my biological younger sister. She's amazing. Her website's healingwithnancylyn.com, and the link is below. And 30% off till the end of the summer is a super deal. Her prices are cheap anyway. Okay, so here we go. You know, guys, the bottom line is that when Jupiter goes backwards, or when Jupiter squares or opposes a planet, it's still good, right? It's like saying, how do you find fault with, a good guy? He's considered the guru planet in India. So he carries with him this faith, this hope, this optimism, this expansion, this growth, this energy of beneficence, a benefic planet, right? And also just the idea that, he's a fairy godfather, right? So he's doing good. When he retrogrades, it's still doing good, but in a different way. My feeling most of the time is my retrogradation experiences of Jupiter is I'm almost paving the way for some big expansion later. I'm going into planting seeds that will become beanstalks. I'm in my inner teacher versus outer teacher mode. There are ways that retrogradation for each of us will play out specifically as he retrogrades in Aries. Now, I want to be really clear. He also retrogrades in the sign of Pisces. This retrogradation is going to take a while. He's starting out on the 28th of the month of July, and he won't go to direct in direct motion again until November the 24th. And in some of that time, he's going to actually be moving through the sign also of Pisces. So I'll show you the picture in the sky in a minute so you can see what it looks like. So I'll try to cover what I think is most important. Certainly that little retrograde motion through the sign of Pisces is going to be decent and really, really good for the people who are Jupiter ruled, like Sagittarius and Pisces themselves. So we'll talk about, and even Cancers where Jupiter exalts you. So we'll give a little nuance for each sign. For the world, I think that a retrogradation of Jupiter pretty well looks like a slowdown in travel. For some reason, Jupiter is the ruler of travel. When he was in Capricorn, which is in his debilitation, we began to have the airlines and the lockdowns beginning to shut down around the pandemic back in the early 2020 time period. So that's his place of debility for him. But just turning retrograde in itself, it's a sort of slowing down. It can also mean delayed luck and opportunity. And if you listen to my new moon video that I just put out, I talk about how during the Leo new moon on the 28th, where he is going into retrogradation, trying the moon, he's actually offering up some kind of like a sweet something, a promise to deliver after he turns direct motion on November the 24th. And that is important to know. Like, there is a further promise coming here. Something good is trying to happen. His direct motion happens from the 28th degree of Pisces. All right, so multiple factors to consider. Let me show you the chart for the geeks here, and then we're going to do the all signs. Also, I'm going to be putting out my Uranus North Node conjunction and Mars, the big boom, in a couple of days, probably after you see this video. I'm behind on my production schedule because I'm on vacation. And yesterday I recorded the entire Uranus video. It was an hour and a half. And the recording stopped at the 30-minute mark, and I have to do it all over again. Yeah, because splicing is hard here. So with the internet being a little slow in northern Canada. All right, so let's talk about this. This is just a simple sky. I want to show you what I mean by the movement of the planet into Pisces. So it is on the 28th that in the late afternoon, around 4 o'clock Eastern, that Jupiter will station at the 8th degree to head retrograde. He's been hovering at the 8th degree of Aries for quite a while. That's conjunct my moon, by the way. And so I've been feeling really good. Like life has been feeling really good with that transit. So Jupiter stationary is kind of high potency laundry soap, really digging into the degree. But now he's going to back off of that degree. And I'm going by days, but I just wanted you to see it, right? And he's going to continue to go backwards. Actually, maybe it'd be a little bit easier if I went by weeks. And around the 28th of October, he's going to end up heading his little bum into the sign of Pisces. Okay. And it's really on the 28th, by the way. I'm just going by weeks. On the 28th of October, he back ends into Pisces. Good for those Pisces ruled people, bringing back good stuff that happened in April, by the way, of 22. And then he's going to really just hover at that 28th degree until on November 24th, he heads direct. And then he will leave the sign again to be moving direct throughout the sign of Aries until May of 2023. Alrighty. So let's go ahead. That was your visual cue, and we will do the all signs. I don't think you need to see that sky. It's not complicated. I know I have messy hair. I'm not even going to brush it today. I'm trying to get this video done in the morning, and so this is my morning hair. So we're going to start today with Aries, which is the typical thing to do. But today it's even more appropriate because, of course, it is in the sign of Aries that he is going to move backwards. Am I sharing again? I didn't mean to share. Sorry, guys. Let's get going and talk about it. So Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. Of course, this is a retrogradation in your own home sign, particularly the rising sign Aries. You're really getting a sense of, first of all, who doesn't want Jupiter in the sign of you, other than gaining a bit of weight, which can happen when he's in your home sign. For the rising sign, Aries in particular, this makes you feel magnanimous, expansive, joyous, hopeful, optimistic. I mean, you are literally acting more like the king of Mount Olympus than you normally do. Like you got king of Mount Olympus super juice going on here. You are on it. And people like you, and you're leaderful, and you feel full of vim and vigor. Like I can say with my Aries sun and moon and Mercury there, I've been feeling full of joy and Jupiter juice, as I call it, since around his ingress around May the 10th into Aries. So we are really riding high, if you ask me, on this glorious, beautiful transit. Now, the thing about that is you're going to find that as he retrogrades, I feel we're going to get into more of a deepening of this sense of wellness, a deepening of this sense of wholeness, and a deepening of the sense of life is a friendly, the universe is a friendly place. Life has my back. Good things are happening for me. Things are happening for me, not to me. Go big or go home. Those are good mantras around the theme of Jupiter in the first house, and to some degree, as he deepens backwards, as he moves backwards, we're going to engage, right, in owning that sense of empowerment and really wanting to step into the throne of our true power as Aries beings. Now, you can be teaching under this influence, but deepening your teaching. So check out my Sky Reader Divine Timing Masterclass and all the stuff I'm teaching this fall that I've taught before. I am expanding those courses. They're live, they're with me, and I'm deepening them. So I'm taking them even further than I have before. Jupiter in your first house is good for your health. And as he goes backwards, it's not bad for your health. It's more like you're going to really be emboldened, Aries, pioneering Aries, to make sure you really, really find the ways in order to be well, whether it's mental, emotional, psychological, or physical. So I'm on a wine cleanse, really. You can't make this stuff up. No wine for me. And, it's going to overlap with Jupiter's retrograde, which really works well in my story. That does support me that way. And inner teacher, inner guide stuff can really be profound. Now, just a quick note, of course, Jupiter will slide back into that 12th house of God, truth, wisdom, moksha, liberation kind of wisdom, not wisdom in the head, but like a deep gnosis or knowing, like Neo waking up from the matrix of what's true and what's real. And a lot of times that 12th house is also how we undo ourselves by sabotage. And for a lot of Aries, as Jupiter slides in there October 28th, till November 24th, right, really spends time there, we're going to find ourselves really truly feeling like we're really kind of put some kind of cap or endpoint on self-undoing, but also we could find ourselves with a spiritual teacher or a guru. Go back to April, especially April of 2022, when Jupiter was in the last degrees. especially the last 2 weeks of April, of the sign of Pisces. And what teachers did you encounter? What spiritual awakenings, what spiritual things were revolving around your self, and any addictions and habits you undid, or what courses of study were you taking? Jupiter in the 12th can allow you to study things. It squares the 9th off that people take courses as well. And I was just finishing up a course at that time in archetypal astrology, or did I start it then? Anyway, so look back, there may be a repeat of some certain themes there. For the most part, you Aries just get to feel more deeply your betterness. Go back to 2010, July to September, and what was happening in your life then with the movement, retrograde movement of Jupiter in the first 3 degrees of Aries. I was so excited, in a lovely relationship with a guy that I ended up marrying, and we moved into a house together in September. It was a time of great fulfillment and excitement. Last thing, for Aries, Jupiter in the first house can activate the 7th house of marriage. So my example, moving in with the one I would marry. So this can also be about how you engage in exciting new ways and deepen your relationship with somebody that you're with. All right, so Taurus, Sun, Moon, Rising, go back, by the way, to July through to September of 2010, because that's the last time Jupiter was retrograding in Aries, in this case, the first 3 degrees of Aries, to get a sense of how this may also feel for you this time. But in your case, this is a very subtle place. Jupiter is in the house of gurus and guides and spiritual awakenings and moksha and liberation, your dreams at night. It's often connected to also healing and releasing yourself from addictions and self-undoing. And so if you've been having any of those issues, don't forget Jupiter since May has been in your 12th house. Now he's going to go back and deepen into, time to quit the weed, time to quit the vape, time to quit the alcohol, time to quit the thing that you shouldn't be doing, or even just your own self-defeating patterns and habits if they're not outright addictions. Jupiter here can bring luck and blessings to people in hospitals that that have nothing to do with you. His retrograding, it could be someone that was really ill, deepening in their wellness and now turning a corner in a hospital setting, for example. And lastly, if you want to learn something, especially if it's deeply spiritual and meaningful to you, with this square to the learning axis of 3-9, often we do learn things in this Jupiter retrograde time in the 9th house that are deeply familiar, or we relearn a course, or we finish a course we abandoned. And lastly, foreign travel is definitely the 12th house. Now, if you do manage to travel, because for the collective, I think Jupiter will slow down travel, because retrograde Jupiter can look like mandates, passports, vaccine passports. Airlines are already clogged. People are canceling flights. Airports are overwhelmed. And maybe they'll declare a monkeypox moratorium on travel, for all I know. WHO on the day of recording, July 23rd, insanely declared monkeypox a worldwide emergency, despite the guidance of the panel, the WHO, the head of the WHO, who, by the way, is best friends with Bill Gates, Mr. Vaccine Dude, and the WEF, the World Economic Forum dude, Klaus Schwab. He went on his own against the guidance and advice of his own people and declared it monkeypox an emergency. Okay, no one dies from it. People get over it. It's painful. It can leave a scar, and it's mostly sexually transmitted right now amongst gay sex men. Okay, no, go figure. I'll bring this up for you because Jupiter in your 12th is a travel house. And so you could go back to a place you've been before. And if you do, it'll be very fulfilling. So you've got that window of time all the way through until October the 28th. All right, now to October 28th, July 28th to October 28th, to go back to a place you've been before, or attract a teacher, spiritual teacher, or guide you've known before. Lastly, you a little window of time when you've got that Pisces quarter that comes up. That's really juicy for you. Go back to the last 2 weeks of April. How did you feel? What was going on? What friends and allies were supporting you? What kinds of really positive things were happening in your larger social circles, or great financial gain from your career? And those things may reoccur again in even more intensity. You may connect the last 2 weeks of April to October 28th to November 24th and see a repeat, but better. Alrighty? Yay. And I'm going quickly. This is a mini session. I do have a client in half an hour. It's very a simple story. Gemini, Sun, Moon, and rising sign. Jupiter is your ally in the house of his joy, the 11th house. Joy, 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 joy to the world. He's happy here. He loves it here. He's on his high place. And so this is good. And go back to May through to his retrogradation, July 28th. What were you putting in place that made you feel expansive, joyful, and full of vim and vigor around your social circles, your large friends and allies? Your great gains from your career could have picked up. You may have made some more money, got some promotions, pennies from heaven. Any windfalls befall you in that 5 months. But now, or May through to July 28th, now we've retrogrades here. Now, this can deepen it. This can take some of those gains that you've had and help you plant a fertile ground for more gains later when he goes direct there again, December through May of next year. Friends with favors in high places, classic Jupiter in the 11th in this case. Look in the next few weeks until the 24th, 28th of October for Jupiter to deliver something from an old friend with a favor in a high place. Now he will go in, slipping into your 10th house, where in April, the last 2 weeks, he was really hovering in the last 2 degrees of Pisces. And that's where he's retrograding into. So think about what was going on in your life back then in the last 2 weeks of April, because you might find yourself really connecting a dot to what he was doing in your career zone, reputation zone. You might have got a new job. You may have had a career elevation. You might have started a new career direction even. And he's back. And so think about how those last 2 weeks of April, when he was finishing up in the last degrees of your 10th house, those developments have been seeding something that's going to come through your sky October 28th to November the 24th. Maybe the boss, a higher up, a CEO, someone in an organization befriends, favors, or blesses you with some goodness in your career this fall. Or you announce a wedding. 10th house can be like the house of weddings. Jupiter is the spouse or connected to marriage. So and a wedding planning, a wedding ceremony, a wedding announcement, or something like that, engagement, those sorts of things. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising. So this is angular to you, especially if you're Cancer. I should have said this for Aries too, but if your Cancer is in the first Cancer, sun, moon, or rising, is in the first 12 degrees maybe of the sign of 11, 12 degrees of the sign of Cancer. Just like the Aries would have felt very intensely this experience. This is an important journey of Jupiter in your career house. A lot of Cancer rising, in particular, sun and moon as well, are having a career peaking time, like being the king of your career, king of Mount Olympus, high on the sky. You're on your game. It's the ideal time to succeed. And Jupiter, since May through to July 28th, was moving direct in the first 8 degrees of your career house, and no complaints, right? So you should have been having a swell time in your work and career space. Now, Jupiter can bring blessed endings. If you're on a career path that's completely wrong for you, you may have left it behind in those first few weeks. As he retrogrades, something is deepening, and you may also go back to something. Back to a career path, back to an old place of employment, back to an old boss, back to an old concept for career. And you may investigate whether that's useful to you until the 28th of October. Then on October 28th to November 24th, Jupiter is in Pisces. And that is a place he spent in your sky back in April, the last 2 weeks. Now, this is campuses, colleges, universities, academics, churches, religion, foreign travel, visas, legal affairs. Yeah, all the book publishing. So, and Jupiter is the exaltation lord of your sign. You have a special relationship with him. So what was going on in the last 2 weeks of April, where Jupiter, who favors you, Cancer, was doing his best to bring you positive developments in that part of the sky. He'll be back there. So, and it could even be a trip to a foreign land that you wanted to take in April the last 2 weeks, but didn't because we had such lockdowns going on. And now you're able to do that trip after all. Yeah, between October 28th and November 24th. Or an unsettled legal affair that settles in your favor in some possible way during that window of time I just mentioned, the last week of October to the 3rd week of November. Leo, sun, moon, rising sign. Now, this is beautiful trine energy, because when Jupiter is in Aries, he fire trines, a superior fire trine to your rising sign. So Leos, this is all over, know which way you say, is so good for you. It vitalizes you, it enthuses you, brings you joy. And this is a transit that Jupiter has been doing since May through the house of God in your chart. So if we talk about the word faith and Jupiter there, Jupiter also like the pastor, the minister, the preacher energy. So, he loves being up there. He's very zealot-like, can be very ardent about spirituality. And you may be feeling that sense of being, since May, really getting back in touch with your spiritual faith and your beliefs about life and all of that, and getting in alignment with your Dharma and taking courses. Jupiter here will allow you to take courses that are in alignment and learn things that are in alignment with your true calling. So my sister's a Leo rising. She's been studying pendulum healing in these months, and she's a miracle worker at it. Yeah, people ask me, what's the doll? I hope you caught the wave. I'm in my sister's place. She's a Reiki distance healer. That's her proxy doll. And so, and she's got a sale, check below. So for you guys, learning has been very fruitful. Court cases are settling in your behalf. Legal affairs are going your way. Travel is ordained. Now, of course, we had a terrible time lately with travel and overload of airports. So you may have felt clogged there, but Jupiter will retrograde and it could allow you to travel to a place you've been before. And that is occurring, right, between July the 28th and October 28th. And of all things, my sister just booked a trip to Vancouver to visit me. We're going back together. So you see what I mean? It really does work, this stuff. However, he will also go into Pisces, your 8th house of your finances, bank accounts, bank loans, mortgages, 401k, business and speculation, stock market stuff, even spouse's money. It may have nothing to do with you. And inheritances. So as Jupiter goes back there, what was going on in the last 2 weeks of April that you might have to readdress? And I forgot to mention that Jupiter did retrograde in Aries, FYI, July to September of 2020, 2010, if you want to get a flavor of some of this from back then. But what was going on for you in the last 2 weeks of April when Jupiter was saturating the end of Pisces? Because around your money story in particular, you're picking up a loose thread and you're going to weave it into a tapestry of financial positivity and goodness. And that is between the 28th of October and November the 24th. You could even get a chunk of money out of the blue coming your way, a long lost debt repaid to you, money that was owed to you showing up, tax rebates out of the blue, that thing. All right, Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. So Virgo people, Jupiter is in your inheritance house, shared resources with a spouse or business partner, bank loans. Go back to July of 2010 to September of 10. What was happening in those 3 months? Because that's the last time this vibe was going retrograde in your 8th. Now, you have had Jupiter here since May, and he's trying to bolster up money. So getting money from the government, getting grants and stipends, getting bank loans and mortgages should you need them. These are all in your favor. It is a bequeathment transit, can't pretend. So some of you will experience the death of a relative, usually an elder, but not always. Then you could be looking at some money coming to you. Or money that is yours, that should be yours, because retrograde Jupiter in the 8th kind of brings what's due that was hidden from you. So like the hidden treasure coming due. And so it will be between, the 28th of July to October 28th that some money will likely come to you from the past or from a place that it should have come to you before, but maybe it was delayed. And then Jupiter will slide into your 7th house of primary love relationship. Now, he was there for a long time last year, right? And you may have been engaging a new depth of relationship with someone or finding your ideal mate when he was there last year. And so he was there last year for quite a bit of time, like the first 5 months of 2022. And then he slid back. So think back to your relationship stuff with the one you're with, business partnership stuff. Did it accelerate? If you were single, Virgo, did someone new come in? And then Jupiter slides back into those last degrees of your 7th house of marriage and relationships. And he really bonifies that space. He really sinks in at the 28th degree. And I would say a lot of this looks to you like up-leveling the marriage or the relationship. But if this is not the right person for you, Jupiter does end things as well. He's like the god of blessed ending. So some intensity there, right? Between October 28th and November the 24th. But it can look like setting a wedding date, announcing an engagement, and all of that, or up-leveling in some way in the current relationship that you're in, moving in together, committing to some deeper commitment. And the same applies to any business partnerships you've engaged in. Libra, sun, moon, rising sign. Now, Libra, this is right across the way from you, so especially important, right? And if you're Libra rising sun or moon, because it's angular, is anywhere in the first 12 to 13 degrees of Libra, you're getting a lot of this juice. And so Jupiter here is trying to expand your others, new business partners, new collaborations, greater reach with your audience or marketplace, expanding love and connection and commitment. But, this is not dating, this is commitment energy. So if you are looking for a committed love relationship, Libras, this is bringing it on for you a big time. Now, Jupiter has been here for the first 5 months, since May of 2022. And he's been hovering in up to the 8th degree. So, there's a sense of paving the way for what's going to really pop December 20th through to May of next year, where he does the whole of your 7th house. So there's an upgrade here for sure in love and relationship. For single Libras, this is very likely to bring in a new relationship of great commitment level. You can look to the retrograde, go back to 2010, July to September, regarding business and love relationships and what was going on, or legal affairs, contracts as well, because that can be vows and oaths and contracts, and legal arrangements are 7th house. Marriage is a legal arrangement. And what were you doing then, and what will you be doing now? With Jupiter retrograde, as I said, the date is the 28th of July to October the 28th. You might find yourself signing a contract that was delayed, some negotiations and contract signings that were postponed in some way, or like you'd set a wedding date and you couldn't get it to work. Now you reset the wedding date, or you and your partner plan to move in together, but you couldn't, but now you're going back to do it. Those sorts of things can happen. Then he will slide into your 7th house. And that's going to happen October 28th to November 24th. This is going to really serve you in your work life, especially your workspace, your colleagues, your coworkers. A boss is in the Jupiter, unless you're the boss yourself and you employ people, Jupiter in the 6th is your boss or a higher up. So you could be really favored and given a great up level, a promotion, a raise, a higher status in a workplace environment, for sure, for a lot of you Libras, especially rising, but sun and moon as well. And that is a nice little perk for you in October 28th to November 24th. But if you go back to the last 2 weeks of April, some of this was already gestating, or you might have a redo of that, like, what goodness is happening in that area for you then. This is good for curing what ails you. If you have any sicknesses that are really plaguing you, the last 2 weeks of April kind of connects to this new wave, the end of October, 3rd week of November. So this could be like the final, what is it called? Magic bullet cure that you find for what is a problem that you need to heal in your life with your body or your health. And that's, so it's just a good transit, really, really positive. Scorpio sun, moon, especially rising sign. Well, for you guys, this energy is playing out in your natal 6th house, where Jupiter has been since May of 2022, blessing you in the work and health environment. A lot of Scorpios are doing well at work and they're succeeding, and they're surprised at their success, perhaps, if things go swell and well, and maybe bosses and higher ups love you and you feel good about yourself. Now, the retrogradation isn't meaning you're not going to feel good. You're going to deepen the sense of your performance and deepen the sense of your success as he goes backwards between July the 28th and October 28th. And then if you have any health challenges, you can really go back to old health routines, health protocols that you may have abandoned that can really help you resolve some nagging health crisis or issue that you can then resolve. Jupiter here is in the house of debt. You can have debts paid off. The credit card debt gets paid off. The bank loan gets paid off. The mortgage gets paid off. Something a friend lent you money, you can pay them back. Especially the retrograde, signifying a debt from the past that you can repay. So my son's a Scorpio rising. I think he's on his last payment from a loan from a family member. They'll be able to execute during that window. See, this stuff works. Now, Jupiter will slide into your 5th house of babies and baby making. This is pregnancy, you or your partner. It doesn't matter. It's not about gender. You are having a fertility transit. So somebody could get pregnant here, whether you're the male or the female partner. So if you don't want a baby, be careful. And you could have had some close calls around that in the last 2 weeks of April when he was also here. This is money, luck, and speculation. This is bonus points on the money game board. This is joy, fun, play, and pleasure. No doubt about it. You're having a good time, October 28th to November the 24th. If you're single, this can bring in a major love relationship. Go over and think about what you were doing the last 2 weeks of April regarding romance and love. But for the most part, it's an excellent place because he's in a very positive house. And it just spells a whole bunch of luck for you, October 28th, leisure, fun, play, and pleasure, joy, fertility. Okay, if you want to start your own business, you are thinking of doing it at the end of April, this is Jupiter's last chance in 12 years to successfully start your own business, Scorpio rising, and therefore harness October 28th to November 24th. And now I'm saying November 24th, that's the retrograde, okay? He'll still be in your 5th house until December 20th. I just want you to get that retrograde juice, all right? Sagittarius, sun, moon, rising sign. Well, this is fire trining you. So especially if you're a Sag rising sun or moon in the first 12 or 13 degrees of Sag, feeling it really well, feels good. Jupiter in your 5th house, fertility, romance, fun, play, pleasure, independent business, enterprise, inspiration, creativity, and the muse. Yay. You've been feeling this vibe since, oh, goodness gracious, May of 2022. Now he's going back over old ground, edit the book, revise the song, try again to fertilize your partner or something like that, or get fertilized if you're the one to be fertilized. Pregnancy. This is a pregnancy transit straight up. So be careful if a Sag in you doesn't want a baby, and this is not a time for reckless, careless abandon in your birth control. And I also really say that if you are somebody who is a creator, an artistic type, this is one of the best transits of every 12 years where your muse is shouting at you and you are on fire. Jupiter slips back into your retrograding into your 4th house, and that's between October the 20th. I'll go back to 2010, July to September, last time this fertility transit retrograded in your 5th house. But then you go to the retrogradation in your 4th. Now, this is good for real estate, and this is between October 28th and yes, November 24th, and he will stay in your Pisces real estate zone until December, but it's a retrogradation going back over something to do with land, property, and real estate. You started to renovate your house the last 2 weeks in April, didn't get it off the ground, or there was something you need to do with real estate, land, and property, and it fell apart on you, or it didn't finally lift off, or only was it what is it, like a pitch pipe beginning note of something good. This is a real estate boon for you. So a new house, a new rental, a new property, something good happening that you might go back over something though that started in end of April regarding homeland, real estate, a move, a buy, a purchase, a sale, a new lease, that stuff. Whew, I got 10 minutes to finish. 1, 2, 3 signs. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising sign. In your sky, this is a Jupiter angular to you. Capricorn, rising, sun, and moon in the first 12 degrees, really feeling it. It is going to be about real estate, home, land, and property where Jupiter's been since May. This can make also the house of the mother. Your mother's health gets better, good things with your mother, but it's a legacy transit. Some Capricorns will lose their mother to death. Yes, when this happens. This happened for my Capricorn ex-husband recently. Jupiter moving through the 4th house. Now, Jupiter has been there since, well, May, and now he's going to retrograde. This could be going back over May 28th to October 28th, the will, the legacy, settling out finances, going back to renovate something, going back to look at an old property, going back to readdress a sale, going back to try to buy a property you looked at before. Sometimes this can be like the landlord pulling the plug. Jupiter can represent the landlord here, and retrograde going back on a deal. So yeah, you might have to move if you don't want to. I'm sorry to say that could happen. This is one of the negative side effects here, but Jupiter brings blessed endings, so don't worry about it. And then Jupiter goes into Pisces, and he will be in Pisces, your 3rd house, where he was the last 2 weeks of April. Back it up a bit. I'm sorry, I'm going fast. Capricorn. And go back to July to September of 10. What was Jupiter doing when he retrograded in your 4th? For my ex-husband, it was when he moved into that house with me. I told you about in the Aries time of the reading. So yeah, a lot of these caps are moving again or something. But Jupiter retrograding into your third house is good for your sibling relationships. It's good for your trips and travel and getting on a plane, train, and having a joyful getaway. And this is something that you have experienced at the end of April. Did you travel the last 2 weeks of April? Did you get on a new call with a sibling, new footing with a relative, like an aunt, uncle, cousin? Did you learn something new? Because if you did any of that in April, Capricorn, you're going to do it again on steroids and in a better way. Go back and do it deeper. And that is that window of time, October 28th to November 24th. I got to move through this at a bit of a clip. Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. So we, Aquarius risings, but sun, moon, and rising, don't always think the first 12 degrees will be the most active if your rising sun or moon is there, but it affects all of us equally nonetheless. Jupiter is retrograding through your third house. He's been there in your Aries third house since May. This is really good for your online stuff. I'm a teacher online. I taught a couple of amazing courses that went really well since then online. Check out my Sky Reader course enrollment. Waitlist is open now for the October Sky Reader 8-week course. I'm moving it from 6 to 8, deep dive into astrology so you can learn how to read your chart and your friends and family and all that stuff. So that aside, check my description box. Jupiter in your third house gives you a chance to really have fun in your local neighborhood, to enjoy your everyday life, to enjoy the routines of your everyday life, to enjoy your siblings. Well, this is all very true for me. I'm at my sister's house. And as he retrogrades, however, and he does this retrogradation like he did July, August, September of 2010, which, by the way, I visited my sister in this very house back then. As Aquarius rising, you will find that you're going to deepen your connections to the joy of the neighborhood or the siblings or the relationships you make in the neighborhood or childhood friends or elementary level school friends. And you could also deepen a teaching or that you're learning. You could deepen that teaching or go deeper into the learning. Or for me as a teacher, deepen the course that I'm going to teach again. So yeah, I'll be going over this course and redoing the content for the class in October during this retrograde time of July 28th, October 28th. On October 28th, he slides into your second house of money. What were you doing the last 2 weeks of April about your earnings? And it's back again, but better. Now, the retrogradation may return you to an older way of making money. I was teaching a class in April. Maybe that's the class I need to reteach, but it's what are you going to do to make money? How are you going to prosper, live long and prosper? And how is that going to happen? That is a redolent or an echo of the last couple of weeks of April. And, he will be there till December 20th. So this is a nice partition of time, Jupiter's last chance saloon, where you Aquariuses are prospering, thriving, giving back. You're in your yay, you money mode. So yeah, that's October 28th all the way through to December 20th. But the retrogradation of going back over old ground, right, is that window until November 24th. Lastly, but not leastly, is the Pisces of our world. Pisces rising, especially sun and moon, money, honey. You got Jupiter in your money house since May. Things are picking up. My sister's a Pisces rising and PayPal gave her money back after they shut her account down a year ago during this window. Money can come to you. That's, it's good for your money. Earnings, finances, cash flow, resources, possessions, right? She got a new bed during that time even. Under weird circumstances. So Jupiter retrograding here in your Pisces house since May, in there since May, but now retrograding on July 28th to go back, please go back to July, August, September of 2010. That's the last time you had a Jupiter retrograde in Aries. So think back to what you were doing then regarding your money story. Now, Jupiter will slide retrograde July 28th to November the 24th, and he will help you deepen, go back over old ground, be very resourceful around money. He could help you shed a possession, sell a house, sell something like a car, because that's what he can do when he's retrograding, going backwards or reneging on a possession. But you could also just be taking classes that will ultimately help you teach or learn or make money by being a teacher or things like that. Or you could get a teacher in your life who helps you sort out your finances. And then this retrogradation just looks like digging in his heels for how greater bounty comes for you December 20th to next May. So you're going to learn some things here, Jupiter, that you need to know in order to really thrive in the first 5 months of 23. And then he will slide into your own sign where he spent much time in 2022. And, he was there in 2022 until about, I think it was May something, May 10th. And you're going to find the last 2 weeks of April in particular, he was really like loving up the last degrees of your first house, because Venus was there too, and so was Neptune. So if you go back to the end of April, what were you up to? Because I think you're going to feel very strongly that you're returning there, especially in the retrograde phase between the 24th of November and October 28th and the 24th of November, about your health, your body, your well-being, your hope, your optimism, your sense of being a powerful queen or king in your own life is returning to you. And you're going to pull it back from 2022, back from April, and bring it home to you again. And then he spends until December anyway in your first house, giving you an extra punch till December 20th. Kingly, queenly, magnanimous, flowing, big you energy, healthy and robust. And that's it, Pisces. Hey guys, thanks for listening. I know it was rapid. Please like and subscribe. Don't tell me I'm talking too fast. I had to do this on a deadline, on a very busy schedule today. Big hugs to all of you. Appreciate all of you listening to my channel. Goodbye for now.